in the living room, that's fine, and maybe a warm-up. As you'll see, the first steps we take, just spend 5 to 10 minutes to warm them up. Have them start to let their guard down just a little bit. We don't need to know their life history. We're going to get into some of the life history throughout the process, but we want to just get to know them a little bit, have them let their guard down so they start to trust us, and we'll continue to build trust throughout the appointment. Seating arrangements at the kitchen table. If at all possible, you want to be to the male's left. We're going to switch seats here real quick. This goes back, Brian Tracy has it in some of his literature, but it goes back to the military days where the men had their sword on their right side. So they're naturally a little bit more defensive when you're sitting on their right. So you want to be on their left side, and then have the female over here on a round table. You want to almost be across from one of them, and then at the side, so that we're doing a lot of yeses. If we're on either side, the whole appointment, as we do eyes, we're saying no to them. It's just one of those little subconscious. We want to be looking up and down, so they're saying yes. And those are some of the mannerisms you get good at. When you want them to say yes, you're going to be shaking your head for them. And they're naturally going to lead to more positive responses. So the first 5-10 minutes, just a quick warm-up, all right? Then at that point, we get into the presentation. The first thing we're going to do is the first page of the presentation. After that, we're going to get into the a good, thorough assessment. Once we've done a good, thorough assessment, we're going to spend about 5 minutes talking and letting them get a cup of coffee, have a drink of water, make a phone call so that we can do our rates, build the options. We need to take time to educate ourselves so that we can then advise. Once we know what is the best solution for them, then we'll get back into the pitch book and start giving them the presentation of who we are as a company, the companies we represent, their financial strength. We're going to get into PPO networks, how PPO networks work, how it works, the necessity of having a PPO as a part of your health insurance solution. We're going to get into issued age versus attained age and rate stability. And then at that point, we get product specific. Okay? So we're going to get started. We've done the 10-minute warm-up. We're going to go ahead and get started. And Mike, first of all, I really want to thank you for the opportunity to sit down with you today. I really think we'll be able to provide you with a solution. And I know in talking, you knew I was a farmer's agent for a long time, really enjoyed that business, got into health insurance and just absolutely fell in love with it. And the reason I got into it is I saw a study conducted by Harvard. And the first thing that jumped out at me was that every 30 seconds, someone in the United States is filing for bankruptcy. And what they found was that the #1 cause of bankruptcy was unpaid medical bills. Statistics show that 60% of those that filed bankruptcy had an average of $12,000 in unpaid medical bills, and that 60% had health insurance. The challenge there is they didn't, A, know what they had, or were provided an incorrect solution. So what I want to do for you today is, first of all, lay out some expectations. First of all, Mike, I know the one thing every insurance plan, and yours is the same, is it resembles a block of Swiss cheese. Do you know what a block of Swiss cheese has, Mike?
A bunch of holes.
A bunch of holes, exactly. And those holes are comprised of deductibles and coinsurance, pre-existing conditions, many different things. One thing I know is everybody's insurance plan has holes. The other thing, my job here to do is to educate myself on your specific block of Swiss cheese. Because the way we fill those holes is through coverage and spending dollars. And I need to educate myself so I can advise you which holes to fill first and how much money we should spend into each of those holes. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So the first thing I'm going to do here in a minute is to truly assess your needs. Get a good picture of your block of Swiss cheese. And the first thing we're going to do is look at your health. Look at any pre-existing conditions. I'm a certified field underwriter for the state of Texas. So I know if you answer the questions honestly, you can rest assured I have a plan that you qualify for. in sitting down with you right now, I already know I have a plan that can improve your situation. So it's not a matter of hiding anything. As long as folks will be upfront and honest with me, we can put them in a plan that they qualify for physically. The second thing we want to look at is your budget. It's not only is it important that you qualify for the plan physically, you've got to be able to pay that monthly bill. And it's also important that, heaven forbid, you were to have your transmission in your car go out, that you can afford it today, have an incident in life come about, and you can afford it tomorrow as well. In other words, if you have to make a decision between health insurance, getting your car fixed, you're probably going to have to get that car fixed so you can go to work, right? You agree to that? So we're going to take a good look at your budget so that we can make sure we put a good plan together. Second thing I want to show you is the companies we work with and the financial stability and the importance of working with financially strong companies. The third thing we'll do is take a look at how PPO networks work and the importance of having a PPO as a part of your health insurance solution. After that, we're going to get you into some rate stabilized plans. Show you how we can stabilize your rate for the next 3 years, if not for the life of the policy. Again, it's important that if you can afford it today, you can afford it next month, next year, and all too often folks tend to have rate increases, and that's why they cancel a policy in time. All right, does that make sense to you so far?
Makes sense.
Got it. Once we get that done, what I'm actually going to do is provide you with 3 different options based upon the assessment of your health and your budget that you qualify for. And once we're completed with that, we'll answer any questions that you have and start completing the paperwork. Now, when we talk about completing the paperwork, what that consists of is completing the applications for the individual products, plus we're going to go ahead and ask for a check for the first month's premium. Now, don't be alarmed. The one thing I cannot do today, Mike, is sell you insurance. All we can do is complete the paperwork, and collecting the check for the first month's premium is allow the application process to start. We will have that check cashed, but it won't be spent. It's going to go into an escrow account. So anytime during the underwriting process, and then up to 30 days after I come back with your policy, you have the right to say, you know what, Scott, I've decided to go in a different direction. And we're going to refund you 100% of the premiums that you pay. However, in collecting a check today, we have what's called binding coverage, which means we're going to look at your individual situation at the time of application. As it goes through underwriting, they're not going to, heaven forbid, something were to develop after we collect that check. Underwriting is going to look at your situation as of today when we collect that check, so you don't have to worry about a pre-existing condition developing during the underwriting process. Does that make sense to you?
Makes sense.
I got it. And at that point, does that sound fair to you?
Sounds fair.
Got it. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started, and let's go ahead and start to get into the assessment process. Okay?